We can start from Larentzakis already annoying Luka Doncic in the first friendly game. It was like
do you call it as something? Was it something annoying? It felt they were, enjoying each other.
Enjoying each other, but that
no bad words yet.
Ironic smile from Luka already. We were already seeing that in the first friendly game, and he got stomped on his ankle like 2 or 3 times in the first friendly game, because that's apparently how Greece will play this summer if Giannis is not available.
I mean, they will try to injure players.
No, I'm not saying this. They will be just
to make clear,
tough team to play against. Like, it's not going to be fun playing against those guards that are chasing you full court, 28 meters on the FIBA court. It's not going to be fun for anybody. And Luka Doncic felt that. He played 25 minutes. I didn't look at the stats, but every time he had the ball and was taking
29
the ball,
actually
29
minutes.
His
first exhibition game.
They were full court pressing him. So Greece is not going to be fun to play against.
Welcome to the URBONUS podcast, guys. As you see, Rytis Vyšniauskas, Augustas Šliauskas, Donatas Urbonas. We will talk about FIBA World Cup and preparation for the FIBA World Cup a lot on this podcast. We're just 3 weeks away from the FIBA World Cup, and we will try to share our first insights, having a first look at Greece and Slovenia. And of course, there will be some other EuroLeague topics in the mix and some teaser for the upcoming FIBA event. So we already started with some of the insights, but and of course, we will talk about Greek national team potential in the World Cup. But what were your main takes from this game? Because we cannot take it seriously. It's highly recommended not take serious any of the friendly games, and sometimes even the whole preparation stage. But it's the first time we see Luka Doncic in Slovenia jersey this summer. It's the first time we see Dinos Mitoglou playing professional basketball after 1 year and a half. A lot of exciting things to watch yesterday. What were your main highlights of the game?
You can't really analyze this game too much. Obviously, there were some things that will translate to the other games and the tournament. The first thing that caught my eye was the refereeing in Slovenia.
Okay.
I always, when I watch these friendly games, I'm like, why are you protecting your star players and your team in the country you're playing? So Slovenian refs were trying to protect Luka, I thought yesterday. Like, some of the calls he gets in these friendly games remind me the calls that Giannis got last summer in the friendly games in the tournament they had in Greece. He was shooting like 10 plus free throws in every game. And like Luka in the first quarter got some calls that were, I was like, how is this a foul? He bumps Larentzakis. Larentzakis barely does any damage to him. That's 2 free throws. On the other side, exactly same move. Larentzakis falls out of bounds, tries over the backboard shot, no call. And I just thought, why you can't be the same on both sides?
But if you're a referee, and especially if you're a Slovenian referee, do you really want to have this 40-minute pressure from Luka Doncic and you complaining about refereeing?
You are a referee. You do your job, and complaining is what almost every player does nowadays. So,
but complaining from Luka Doncic, it's from another level. And it's a friendly game. It's the middle of summer. It's August. It's not the season. Maybe it was the first game for the referee as well. I'm just like calling every foul and giving Luka Doncic shoot 17 free throws in his first game.
So you just allowed him anything, right?
You don't want to mess with Luka, really. Okay. Not in off season.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I just don't really understand that. Another impression was that...
By the way, just to finish about the free throws, there was a sequence where Luka missed 6 free throws in a row. And I was like, watching the game, forwarding some situations, especially free throws, and I was like, is it real? Did he really miss like 6 free throws? And I checked the play-by-play. Yeah, exactly. He had this crazy stretch, So yeah, in general, 9 from 17. He made only 9 from 17.
I did not realize he shot that many.
Yeah, 17. And the entire Greek team, 19.
Okay.
That kind of explains something.
Another point I wanted to make was like, first quarter, I'm watching Greece run their offense. And it's like, sometimes I felt like I'm watching the Olympiacos' offense. You know, they had walk-up, they had Larentzakis, they had Papanikolaou, they had Papagiannis playing the Mustafa Fall type of role, just posting up. And some of the plays actually are what, you know, Bartzokas was running this year. That motion play, one of their favorite plays is exactly the same. They run it like from sideline out of bounds. So it was like, oh, cool. Like Itoudis have a mix right now from Fenerbahce plays and Olympiacos' plays. So it's really interesting to see how they will run with this group of guys. So, and you know, Larentzakis defending Doncic was really interesting to see. Just picking him full court and then not allowing him to breathe easily. So it was first game, a lot of turnovers, not turnovers, but not a lot of quality from both teams. But it was just interesting to see, and it will be interesting to see how those things change and translate going forward.
Yeah. I mean, it was fun to watch the game, although it doesn't mean anything, although you cannot make any serious evaluations about the game. But every time you see Luka Doncic playing, especially in Slovenia jersey, it just brings a lot of excitement. I mean, he had 21 points, 10 rebounds, 14 assists, and like 3, 4, or 5 assists were like full court passes, like NFL plays.
Those were amazing.
And it just gives such a huge, weapon for Slovenia in transition game, especially when they have so many guys who can run the floor, especially when they had Jordan Morgan as their center instead of Mike Tobey. So, I mean, it was just fun to watch Luka, although he wasn't efficient. He scored only 5 from 13 from the floor. The plays he created, the plays he made, created for others. I mean, it's always exciting to watch Slovenia on offense. On defense, definitely. It's a different topic, and probably they will suffer from it in the entire competition. So, and is going to be one of their main flaws coming into the competition. And for Greece, it was just interesting to see how these guys can play together. How Thomas Walkup looks in Greek national team jersey, and he looked really great.
Looked good.
he made some clutch shots in the end. Added some nice step back 3-pointer, of course, made his assists and his part of his job defensively. Lunzis, 7 assists, 30 minutes, 13 points, solid performance. Papanikolaou, 5 threes, 5 from 5, I think. Yeah, I think he was 6 from 6. Come on now, it's crazy. 6 from 6 from 3.
He was great moving off the ball, and just I don't know if Walkup deserves like the man of the match for all those shots in the end, or Papanikolaou for what he did throughout all the game.
Yeah,
not sure which one would deserve the award, man of the match.
Yeah, there was some stretches where Papagiannis, I think at one point in the first quarter, only in the first quarter, Papagiannis made like 3 blocks. Thanasis and Antetokounmpo also brought his energy defensively. Great
game for him.
It was interesting game to watch, to try to make a picture of what can you expect from Greek national team.
And Slovenia. So can they
as well?
Can they win something this year?
So as Luka said, every time we go to a championship, the goal is to win it. And I have a question for you guys. Do you see the Slovenia national team? Do you see Luka Doncic bringing this Slovenia national team on the World Cup podium?
They're one of the contenders to win a medal. I'm not saying gold medal necessarily, but a medal. If you look at their track record, they were very close to winning an Olympic medal in Tokyo. After Batum's block on Prepelic, probably they had a burnout and they weren't really up for the bronze medal game where Patty Mills was cooking. But in general, they were like one shot away from winning an Olympic medal. In the previous Eurobasket, I think they lost just because of their attitude. And maybe that's a lesson for them to learn. I'm talking about the quarterfinal versus Poland. So if they bring the right attitude to this tournament, if they respect the competition and the opponents properly and prepare for games, I don't see why they cannot go far. But in these competitions, it's always going to be about one game against a very tough opponent. Usually it's the quarterfinal. That's the toughest. Maybe a semifinal. I'm not sure about the brackets right now, talking about Slovenia. But as long as you have Doncic you are one of the contending teams. The roster is more or less similar to what we used to. It's just that in the naturalized players position, they will not have Tobey.
Mike Tobey is going to join the team. I'm just not sure how they're going to play
so
this.
So they will have to decide which one goes to the tournament.
And maybe we will bring this question up as well. Which player fits better? But yeah, let's continue with your
thoughts.
In
general, I mean, you can expect more of the same from them. You know how they're going to play, like a team that plays a lot of pick and roll action, Spain pick and roll, and all that stuff that Luka Doncic loves to play. It's his team, and defensively, as I said, they're not the type of team that you can expect to grind games. But when they have it their way, when Luka has these 40+ point performances, there are nightmares for other teams. It's just that I think for Luka, maybe he also learned that he doesn't necessarily have to bring his A game from the very first day. Like, let's take the Olympic Games in Tokyo. He started versus Argentina with a crazy record-breaking performance. I mean, there was 50 points or something. And then you go further in the tournament. Then in the semifinal, you face the extreme physicality of Team France. It gets tougher. You're getting tired. Your body is becoming fatigued. And then in the bronze medal game, he just didn't have it in him anymore. So
the same happened in Eurobasket. You remember he also was close to make a record of Eurobasket history
in group stage.
And then exactly.
So maybe that's another thing that maybe in the group stage, of course he needs to be the leader, but sometimes you can save some energy, because if you're dreaming about the title, about the championship, you need to be ready for this full course of an extremely difficult schedule.
But probably it's also up to the coaching staff to work on this load management. It probably is hard for Luka. It probably is hard to ask him not to give his full energy offensively or not to be involved offensively. Defensively, he is doing a good job on load management, but offensively, he wants to have the ball. He wants to create for himself or for others.
But if I have to be honest, and it's just my opinion, I'm not an insider of the Slovenian camp. I don't think it's up to the coach.
Okay.
I think if Luka decides something, it happens. So it's not like the coach will sub Luka in the middle of the first quarter and say to him, like, now you're going to sit for 15 minutes. That's my decision. Respect it. I do believe that Luka Doncic is the one who's
making substitutions for himself.
His word is the last word, right? If he decides that in this game he's done, it means he's done. And I'm not disrespecting their coach, but it's just the way it is, in my opinion. But that's just my personal opinion. Maybe I'm wrong.
And you mentioned the groups, and you said quarterfinal is going to be the toughest game. But the way the roadmap is created and the bracket is created, the groups are created, Slovenia will have like important games even before the quarterfinal, because from Australia, Germany, and Slovenia, and Finland as well, out of four these teams, there's Georgia as well. Out of these 5 teams, you can short it down: Slovenia, Germany, and Australia. One of the teams is not going to make the quarterfinals. So there will be important games already, let's say, in the second round, because their group is
Cape Verde, Georgia, Venezuela. But in the second stage, they might face Germany, Finland, Australia, or Japan.
Yeah, so basically, I'm just saying that he doesn't need to dominate versus Cape Verde or Venezuela. If the game somehow becomes close, then of course in the fourth quarter you need to be serious. But in general, I think they're capable of winning these games without Luka Doncic 100% and best performances.
And just to add about this road to the podium and the quarterfinals, they might face somebody from Spain, Latvia, France, or Canada. Probably these are the favorites to advance from their groups.
That part of the bracket is extremely hard in my eyes, much harder than the other one.
Apparently, because at first with Jokic and Giannis, it felt like we were in this deaf side of bracket.
Right. Talking about Slovenia, can Doncic take them to the podium? And you already mentioned the Tobey Morgan question. That's what I had thought of, what I've written in my notes. Like, it's going to depend a lot, I think, on this decision. Which center are they going to take? These are two different type of players. Tobey is a guy who can stretch the floor. Slovenia plays the 5-out offense with him. It's really hard to, switch when he's on the roster, because then it's just Luka one-on-one basketball and you don't have a guy in the paint, so everything opens up for Luka. And to me, it's not up, we all know what Luka is going to offer. Like, their offense is going to be okay, but Jordan Morgan has shot 16 threes in his entire career, bro, according to Instat, made only one. He's great roller, great finisher around the rim, great runner. 2 outlet passes from Luka in this first friendly game was for him, because he was running to the rim so fast in the transition. And they were trying to switch with him, but I just don't think he adds as much to their defense as Tobey does to their offense. And Slovenia are winning games with their offense. So I'm really intrigued which one the coach is going to choose. But I just think Tobey is a better fit, because Luka and their offense, are more dangerous with him on the roster. So it's going to be interesting just to see which one they take to the championship.
Yeah, and if I believe that Luka will bring them to the podium, well, my answer would be that I'm not sure. I agree that if you have Luka, you already become a contender for something serious. But at the same time, I remember when they had this great run at the Olympics, they played tremendous basketball offensively. And a lot of coaches, a lot of people repeated that it's not all about Luka. It's about the entire Slovenia team, the way they were trying to play defense aggressively, the way they were contributing offensively. It was, okay, it all started from Luka, but it was a huge effort from other guys. And when you look at their core and when you look at their season, it's really hard to find another Slovenian player who is on the rise at the moment. For instance, Klemen Prepelic, who was always very important for Slovenia national team. He had probably his worst season. He had his worst season in Valencia, and it was probably the least efficient season that he had since Real Madrid years. Jaka Blažić, the same. He had a very tough season in Turkey. Mike Tobey, he was in and out for Barcelona. He was not getting a consistent playing time, so he was not in his best rhythm. Few other players, and they will be missing Edo Muric. For me, he's underrated. That's an underrated loss for Slovenia national team, because he added a lot of. He gave them flexibility defensively to play the small ball, and he acted pretty well in a lot of stretches that basically decide some games as a center playing small ball for Slovenia, and they won't have him. He's also a very important presence in the locker room, so I think that they will miss him a lot. We already emphasized how much they struggle defensively, and Edo Muric was probably their best defender on the court. They for sure will miss him. Other players are not in their best shape, and of course it's Slovenia, and usually those players have this Mantas Kalnietis thing in their game. When it's national team basketball, they become way different players, and of course thanks to Luka as well.
Vlatko Čančar.
And Vlatko Čančar is probably the only guy, and also what is important thing, that he's growing step by step slowly in the Denver Nuggets. They admire his game more and more every season. He adds to his game some stuff, and of course as a stretch 4 option, or as a player who can actually play a 5 position with these Slovenian rotations, he can become a very solid piece. But I'm missing some other players to be in a great momentum to reach something great in the World Cup. But we'll see. It just the prediction, the feeling that I have about this Slovenia for the World Cup competition.
It's early, but I think it's fair to say that we are not predicting Slovenia a medal in this World Cup, because they are facing a tough bracket. Let's say they are also have a lot of holes in their roster, and Luka alone doesn't seem like he's capable to do so much for this team to bring a medal back home, not in the Eurobasket but in the World Cup.
I'm not predicting anything, honestly. Yeah. I don't know.
Lately, Rytis is not predicting anything,
because when you mature as a person, you realize how pointless it is to predict these tournaments. So I think they are capable of winning a medal. Do I see them as my top 3 team, let's say? Not analyzing the brackets, the whole bracketology. It's just that, do I see them as my top 3 team? No, I don't. But can they win a medal? Yes. So that would be my answer.
Also, let's put it
It's
this
not a
way.
prediction. It's not a prediction. I'm not predicting this.
That's observation of their
All right.
potential.
I
Because
will-
I wouldn't be surprised if they win the medal,
Oh my
but
God,
I
you
consider
start again.
it as a highly unlikely.
Okay.
Let's put this
And
way.
that's not a prediction.
How
Come on, guys.
Rick Pitino, when he came back to Panathinaikos in a EuroLeague interview, he said it was improbable but not impossible.
It's crazy that to this day we're still quoting Rick
I will
Pitino.
never stop quoting Rick Pitino because his press conferences were like a stand-up comedy shows to me. After EuroLeague games, I would always watch these press conferences on YouTube.
Yeah. So
What
we
about
see
Greece,
that
though?
you have a bold prediction about Slovenia, right? So
I don't have a bold prediction. It's just, we are doing a podcast, so I just feel it's fair, like, to give an opinion and a prediction for those who listen to us. Like, I want us to become no, we're not predicting anything. We're just talking, but we're not predicting anything.
I don't see Slovenia winning a medal. Are you
Thank
happy right
you.
now? Are you happy right now?
Finally. I'm just waiting for Rytis to give us. But he
Was
already
that
said
such a
it.
game
I said,
changer for you?
to me, they're not a top 3 team.
Thank
Yeah.
you. That's their answer. Let's go to talk
And what
about
was your
Greece.
take about them? You
No.
see them reaching the quarterfinals and then
No, about medal. I don't think they're winning the medal.
okay.
That's it.
Okay.
I just don't want to see these great players suffering games for, let's say, 7th or 5th place.
At the same time, it might decide.
They might decide.
Olympics.
Yes, they might be important,
tickets,
but
so-
it's just, to me, it's so frustrating when I see great players competing not for a medal, but for a 5th or 6th or 7th place or whatever. It happened, let's say, in the previous World Cup when Serbia played Team USA for
the
8th place. Serbia won, so then they played for 5th, and then USA ended up playing Czech Republic for the 7th,
which is
place.
even worse.
Like, come on.
So yeah.
What about Greece?
What about Greece? Without Giannis, without Dorsey, without Kalatis, who else is missing? I think that they could build another team of those players that are missing.
At least a solid starting 5.
Yeah.
I don't know. I like I said, I don't think it's going to be funny to play them this year. They're going to be this grit and grind, old Memphis Grizzlies playing type of basketball where they defend, where they are maybe a little bit dirty with you, just attached to you, pressing full court. We saw in the friendly game they're already trying to mix in some zone pressure. So Itudis will, make something up in the defense and make it not fun to, play the game for you, like he did for, maybe Olympiacos in the quarterfinal series and many other times. Team play will be above all. I see a lot of off-ball movement from them. I'm intrigued to see Dinos Mitoglou and Thanasis Antetokounmpo front court. I think they complement each other very well. Thanasis was great in this first friendly game, just his energy.
He played as a 5, right?
He played as a 5 and Mitoglou as a 4, but, he doesn't shoot, but Mitoglou shoots at the 4, and Mitoglou can, beat the closeout with the dribble. So Mitoglou would be perfect fit for Slovenia if we're, talking about the Tobey and
Morgan general manager, but Rasha Nesterovic is out, and he was genius of bringing Anthony Randolph, Kokoshkov, and then Mike Tobey at that point. So
right, so and just the only question and the question mark is normal for this team, where the scoring will come from. Papa Nicolau is not going to shoot 6. Is not going to make 5 or 6 3-pointers every game. Thomas Walkup, I'm not sure if his performance on the latest URBONUS podcast was better than his performance in the first friendly game.
Okay.
Like he was making step back, one-handed layups, really tough shots there, playing like the main ball handler for that Greece team. So maybe against a better defense than Slovenia, I'm not sure if he's the guy to do this in every game at the end of game. So that's the main question for them, and probably it's fair to have this.
I think you said it very well. In my opinion, they will probably face shooting issues, similarly to the previous Eurobasket. They had Giannis, but shooting was still a problem for them. They don't have very consistent shooters. I would never bet my money on Papanikolaou making all of his spot-up threes as he did in this friendly game.
Unless it's a final game or some super important game, then he's making those shots.
In general, I would not bet on him to make those shots.
In general, we just advise also not to bet, so...
Yeah, I'm not promoting betting.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't bet. The thing is, they are a very tall and physical team. As you said, when you have a defensive-minded point guard as Thomas Walkup and you have Larentzakis next to him, it's going to be very hard for the other teams to create, to have their set offense running. And it might come down to Lithuania-Greece game as a decider for both teams, right? And in this case, I would see it as almost a 50-50 game. We're talking now when we are not sure about Giannis' situation, right?
But let's say
he doesn't play.
Yeah.
I don't see Greece as a spectacular team. I don't see them as a really flashy team that you really would want to watch if you're a neutral. But yeah, as you said, it will have the right mentality. They have a good coach. So they will cause problems for sure to the others. But without Giannis, they're just lacking star power and offense.
That's simple.
I think that they're one star player, and especially offensive-oriented star player, away from becoming a medal contender, podium contender.
So of course, with Giannis, they're contenders.
Yeah,
they were contenders in the Eurobasket. But
Giannis, Dorsey, let's say Giannis and Dorsey, and that's it. That's a team to win a medal.
Last year, they could have won it, but it just happened that Germany at home had an amazing night.
17 of 31.
One of the best Eurobasket.
Some of the players played their career. Yeah. They had their career best performances, and it just happened. It was a spectacular game of basketball, and Germany was just on another level on that night. So, I mean, Greece, you can never rule them out. Maybe it might even help them if they go to the tournament with sort of an underdog status.
Yeah.
Like 2019 World Cup for them was a disaster, even though Giannis played. But with all these calls from the referees, he was so frustrated. He was not happy, and the team was just not clicking.
But they were playing such a bad basketball that year.
Yeah, although they had Luka Doncic,
but they were coached.
Players.
The things they ran in offense were just like didn't
make any sense. I remember that.
Any sense there, and now if you do this, when you do this had Giannis last year, it was much more. It was great to watch. It was logical. Things made sense, and this year they're going to play without Giannis. It's going to be already also a completely different way. Yeah. So,
yeah, I believe that Greeks. I don't know their clear feelings about their national team. I talked with a few Greek guys, and of course they said that they don't have, let's say, high expectations or any expectations. And I feel that they feel like us as well in Lithuania, with many Lithuanian players missing. Our bar of expectations decreased significantly, but at the same time, and I believe that they were ruled out by a lot of people from the outside. Let's say you see Giannis not playing, you see Kostas Lukas, we didn't mention Kostas Lukas. You see Dorsey skipping the competition, Mykhailiuk, and you think that, I mean, it's over, it's done. There's no conversation about them being dangerous. But when you look at their team, when you go case by case, player by player, like Thomas Walkup, the best defensive player in the EuroLeague, Larentzakis, pain in the ass, 3-point threat, trash talker, somebody who will get you injured or stopped. Kostas Papanikolaou, one of the best veterans that we have in the EuroLeague. Dinos Mitoglou, yes, he might be rusty after not playing for such a big stretch, but at the same time, you know, I loved his game as a foreman who can also play as a center, who can also stretch the floor to some extent. Papagiannis, I mean, he has a lot of to prove. Finally, he will be healthy. Like a year ago, he was a second all EuroLeague team player. Coming off the bench, they have Thanasis and Antetokounmpo, Larentzakis, a lot of hustlers, defenders, and they're missing offensive threat, but at the same time, they will be a very tough opponent to play.
Okay, but since we are giving our opinions
since Augustus
and predictions,
our predictions.
So my question is, you said a lot of good things about Greece, but do you rank them above Lithuania? Because, like I said, it might come down to them facing each other in a decisive game.
We are closely connected to Greece this summer.
Yeah, so do you rank them above Lithuania? I mean, Lithuania also is missing a lot of important players.
That's a good question.
Because I'm not ranking them higher.
For me, they're pretty equal. Maybe I would give a slight advantage for Lithuania, but I'm not confident about Lithuania over Greece. I see them having more advantages, especially offensively. And these are two different type of teams.
Very different.
So
for sure.
it will, I mean, it's the matter of how these teams will click in 4 weeks, if they will reach their peak, if they will, find chemistry on and off the floor in those 4 weeks.
So in general, you mostly agree that it would be a 50-50 situation if they play one game, right?
On paper, I give like 55 for Lithuania.
Okay.
On paper.
I would give 51 to Greece.
Okay.
51.
But it's like really close. And I think Montenegro will be in this 3-team mix.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
They might be this dark horse.
They might
of this side of bracket.
They can disrupt the whole bracket.
Yeah, they
exactly.
might win one game against one of these teams, and then it's like 3-team tie. And
like they have a good, solid 7 or 8 man rotation. And in these tournaments, sometimes it's just enough. You don't need to have 12 players that are equally good. Sometimes you just need a core of 7, 8 players, and all the others can just step up for some minutes. But when you see them with Vucevic, with Dublevic, with Kenrick Perry, who else is there? Nikola Ivanovic, Simonovic. They do have all the tools.
That's a decent core,
Yeah. So Donatas asked, everyone to prepare 3 most interesting teams, players to watch.
3 things to watch. 3 things you're anticipated to watch in the tournament.
This would be the perfect transition because I chose 3 teams that might have an upset story in the tournament. And I always love to see, an upset story. It always happens during the tournament. And I think Montenegro has a chance. Basically, I chose 3 teams that could advance to the quarterfinals when they are not supposed to, given their roster and the bracket and the teams they have in groups. So I have Montenegro as one of my dark horses, and for all the reasons you mentioned. They have Perry and those centers, some additional players, and someone who can come from off the bench, Mykhailiuk. So maybe with Lithuania and Greece, with so many losses and so many players not playing in the tournament this year, Montenegro could give them a run for their money. And another team I have is Dominican Republic. I think they have an interesting core if their NBA guys play, the Karl Anthony Towns, Al Horford. They have Chris Duarte, who was great in Indiana. Now he's with Sacramento, I think he signed. They have Lester Quinones, who I saw in the Summer League. He's a really great guard with the Golden State. He was the G League's most improved player. So it's not like they don't have. It's not like they have only Cat and Al Horford if they play. They also have some other guys in the backcourt that's always necessary. So and they're playing in the Group A, whereas Group A is like one of the easiest, I think, groups there. They have Angola, Philippines, and Italy. So they should qualify with Italy, go to the next round, where they will face Serbia and China, Puerto Rico, or South Sudan. So if they manage to win one upset game against maybe Italy or Serbia, who will not have Jokic, as we know, I don't know, maybe they make 17 3-pointers like Germany did against Greece.
Well, Karl Anthony Towns said he's the best shooting big man ever.
So if we see exactly that in one game against these giants, let's say, then maybe Dominican Republic can be in the quarterfinals.
That's crazy. This bracket is so
much easier than the
easy,
Group A, B, C, and
From
D.
the look on your face, I thought you were going to say disgusting.
I was trying to find the correct word. And why it always happens the same way. Wherever you have China, somehow they have the best bracket in the competition among all the teams. The same happened at the FIBA World Cup in China as well.
I'm excited to see what bracket in 2027 Qatar will have.
South Sudan, Puerto Rico, and Angola.
And before 2027, they will introduce a new rule that you can have 6 naturalized players.
Okay. Or the host starts from quarterfinals in the tournament. And my last dark horse team is Finland. They don't have a favorable bracket, but they have Lauri Markkanen, who in my eyes can take the Nikola Jokic and Giannis's role in this tournament.
Perfect FIBA player.
Perfect FIBA player. Had an amazing season in the NBA. So productive, so efficient shooting the ball. They also have Jantunen, who played in Italy. Now he signed with Paris.
Miro Little, amazing kid.
You saw him live.
Christian Sunrise Academy. Yeah.
But that's quite a jump from Sunrise Christian to FIBA World Cup, don't you think?
He already played in Eurobasket, and he got some minutes. So
they have
very energetic guy.
They have Sasu Salen, one of the best FIBA shooters, and Madsen, the high flyer, big. So
honestly, Finland to me, ever since I think the 2011 Eurobasket in Lithuania, when they still had that older generation of players with Koponen,
Timo
Rannikko, Motola, and all the others. Ever since then, I felt like this is the team that has almost perfect chemistry. And it helps so much. Of course, you need some talent, as you have with Markkanen. But to me, it always seems like these guys enjoy so much playing for a national team. They take so much pride in it. And that is also another extra step sometimes that might help you overcome some struggles. And they had a really good Eurobasket last year. And after that, Lauri Markkanen has his best season ever so far in the NBA. So, yeah, that's an interesting team.
Unfortunately, they have Germany and Australia in their group.
Yeah, that's tough. That's very
They
tough.
have to start upsets from the first game.
That's very tough. They need to win at least one of these games.
They're playing Australia in the first game, Japan, and then Germany. So it's a tough group. It's tougher than groups A and B combined, I think.
So your 3 teams to watch?
That's my 3 teams.
Montenegro, Dominican Republic, and Finland.
Just teams who might make a surprise of going to the quarterfinals.
Okay.
And I would like to see that.
Who do you have as your picks?
I wasn't focusing as much on a dark horse role as my personal preferences.
It was a very open selection.
So my number 1 is Australia, because it has been my favorite national team since 2008 Beijing Olympics. And that was when Patty Mills introduced himself
to the world,
to the audience. And he's still here at the age of 35. I think they don't have the chip on their shoulder anymore because they finally won a medal. That was Olympic bronze. Yes, some of the veteran players are not as good as they were, especially Joe Ingles, for example. But the up-and-coming players are really exciting, especially Josh Giddey. You have guys that can play terrific defense like Matisse Thybulle or Josh Green. Maybe you don't have a physical, brutal center as you used to with Bogut and Baines, but there's Jock Landale after a pretty good season. He's a very good pick-and-roll player. He can also stretch the floor if needed. And Australia is, again, another team that always has good chemistry. They play with extreme physicality. Other teams hate playing against Australia because of all the elbows and everything that happens on the court. That is Aussie mentality, you can say. It's their basketball heritage. And like I said, they're my favorite team. Patty Mills is my favorite player in the competition.
In FIBA competitions.
But I loved him throughout his whole career, especially in San Antonio.
Oh, you're the Spurs guy.
Right. So I have to pick them.
And you didn't even mention Joe Ingles, who's like the heart of this
I
team.
did mention him in the context that he's not as good as he was, but when you're thinking about leadership skills, he's as good as anybody.
Dyson Daniels is also a guy who plays for the Pelicans, if I'm not mistaken.
Dante Exum. Again, I mean...
Tom Maker.
Matisse Thybulle.
I think Exum learned a lot from his experiences in Europe, and he's a better player now than he was in the past. So it's a great team, a very exciting team, and my favorite team as well. So I have to pick them. My other picks include 2 European teams. Oh, by the way, I actually just recently purchased a tank top that says Aussie, 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 oi, oi, oi. So
are you going to wear it?
I'm really attached to them.
Rytis, are you going to wear it when you're commentating the games from Philippines?
It's a must.
I think I'll wear it on my free time because I think it's kind of inappropriate to wear a tank top to work.
To commentate the games.
Okay. Anyway, moving on.
You're not betting, but we should make a bet where if you lose, you have to do it.
I can do it, but I just think it's disrespectful towards your environment.
You would make headlines in Australia, though. I mean, let's imagine if Australia is playing in the final. But are you going to wear it?
I'm not the type of guy who's seeking attention. So
who wants to go viral?
I won't do that for clicks or anything. Actually, in the previous World Cup, I accidentally got into Tony Parker's Instagram story.
Oh, okay.
Because I was sitting in the front row of the commentators, and below there was this VIP section where Tony was sitting with Manu. I think Kobe was there, Chris Bosh.
That's some nice company to be.
And Tony Parker was just doing a selfie video, and accidentally I got into it, and I was on Tony Parker's Instagram stories. But yeah, that's probably the most famous I was ever in my life.
But he didn't tag you.
For sure.
Strangely, no.
Strangely. Didn't even shake my hand.
Just because of your nickname on Instagram, like Richa41 or something, right?
Yeah.
Just...
Okay, so my other 2 teams to watch are European teams, actually. Our neighbors, Latvia, I have to give them a shout out because this is the first time they actually made it to the World Cup. And you can sense some excitement in their country. I spoke with some Latvian people. They're really excited about this competition. They're still on a huge hype after winning a medal in the ice hockey World Championship. But still, now they're thinking about their basketball team. And even though they have a tough group, I believe that Kristaps Porzingis is right now in a very good place mentally and physically. He had struggles in the past, but now I think he can offer more of the same that Lauri Markkanen does to Finland. I can remember him playing a qualifier versus Turkey where he just destroyed the Turkish team. And yes, they don't have a good point guard. That's a problem. That's an issue. But they have shooters. I mean, this is a team that can kill you by the 3-point line, or they can you live and die by the free, as it is said, and that can happen to them. But I'm excited to see them in this World Cup.
Can you imagine how much more exciting this team would have been with Mike James on the roster? I mean, that would be.
Was it an option?
There was a high chance. Yeah.
Okay, wait, this year?
I don't remember if this year or the last year, but did they even participate in the Eurobasket? No, I think...
No, they did not.
They were thinking about getting him on board for the World Cup. And from what I heard, it might be possible that some of the Latvian, maybe federation guys or some of the veterans were against it. So they kind of,
Maybe just the government was against giving a passport.
Maybe, I don't know. But this was for sure a real case, and there were some talks already between Mike and Latvian Federation or basketball members. So Mike James, Porzingis, and all these shooters. That would be crazy. Slovenian type of wildness and excitement.
It's just how weird it sounds, Mike James playing for Latvia.
Wow.
It would have been weird, yeah.
Eric mentioned in the last podcast, you have certain ties if you play for a certain amount of time in one country, like in Greece. Like, what kind of ties Mike James would have with Latvia?
The same ties that Tobey has with Slovenia, or Lorenzo Brown has with Spain, or Kendrick Perry with Montenegro.
That wasn't really a well argument, even though it sounded nice. But not every guy who gets the passport has really.
Yeah.
Some of them do, like Shane Larkin, for example.
Thomas Walker played in Greece for quite some time.
So Latvia is just.
I'm not
in the
surprised.
past, they were also missing a true point guard. That was always an issue for them. But they always had shooters. They had
Giannis Treniaks.
They still have the Bertans brothers. They used to have Walters brothers. Giannis Treniaks. Okay, he's not gonna play.
Yeah, he's injured.
Their group is though.
Yeah, that's what I said. They are in a
Canada,
very tough
France.
group. I'm just really excited to see them, and I don't really predict them going very deep in the tournament, but I will definitely watch their games, and I will love to see them in this competition.
I'm not surprised by your choice because you kind of spent more time in Latvia this summer than Lithuania, probably.
50-50.
Close. That's close.
I spent even more in Poland, actually.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
But I'm not picking Poland.
Yeah.
They're not even
There's
here.
no Poland in
because
the
they're
competition.
not here. So my third choice is actually a team that just recently visited Kaunas and had a friendly game in Žalgiris Arena. That's Georgia. I wanted to pick something interesting, but at the same time, not one of the teams that I don't really see making out of the group stage. Because Georgia is actually, again, as similarly as we talked about Montenegro, it's a team with a solid 7 or 8 man rotation. You have very physical players. You have some veterans. You have Shermadini and Toko Shengelia. First of all, Shengelia is very motivated to play for his national team and make up for the last year previously because of his injury. They have exciting NBA prospects. Sandro Mamukelashvili is a very interesting player. Goga Bitadze will definitely add a lot. He didn't play in this recent friendly game. They have an American scorer, guard, McFadden, who is a really good scorer, a streaky shooter. If he gets his rhythm, he's very tough to stop.
They still have Tsinsadze.
They still have Tsinsadze and Sanadze. And maybe Markoshvili will suit up for some of the games. I don't know.
Yeah, he still looks in shape, so I wouldn't be surprised.
In general, I think it's a pretty good team.
Man, their worst problem is that 4 of their 5 best guys are power forwards or even centers. I mean,
I know.
BCL legend Shermadini, Bitadze, Sandro. I mean, that's... They should trade one of those bigs to some national team. Although now everybody
But you can play Mamukelashvili in a different role as a small forward. You play a tall lineup anyway. He has the skill set to do different things. I think he improved his jump shot. He loves driving to the left. He has this semi-hook shot that is very tough to defend. I don't see it as a problem. I see it as an opportunity, actually. And well, yeah, maybe when Shermadini sits, you will play Toko as a 5 because you don't have a real backup center. From what I've seen, I'm not really that.
If Bitadze plays, then
Goga Bitadze again is on the roster. So I'm just not really sure about those younger guys they have on the roster. I saw some of them for the very first time when they faced Lithuania, and my general observation is that they are lacking ball handlers. That's why sometimes Toko or Sandro Mamukelashvili, they have to bring the ball up the court because their point guards are kind of vulnerable to aggressive defense, and McFadden is a veteran, so we don't want to waste his energy by just bringing the ball up. But I do have them as one of the teams to watch.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Donatas?
I love Georgia. I had a conversation actually with Toko Shengelia, and when I asked him about this injury in the Eurobasket, he was talking about that situation and the goosebumps because his mindset, he was preparing his mindsets and he was preparing others. I mean, he's like a teacher for the other Georgian players, including those NBA guys. He was preparing everybody, to have this mindset that every extra step you're making is for this goal, for the Eurobasket in Georgia. And bam, like on the eve of the tournament, the main guy gets injured and he's missing the competition and basically putting their chances and their ambitions in jeopardy. So yeah, I hope that they're gonna, recover from that. They're ambitious to try to make a shot that's qualifying to the Olympics, or at least to be in a position to qualify. And let's say we're making one or two upsets. Who knows? You never know. Okay, so my top 3 things to watch, I wouldn't call it teams. I will start with the easy one. Canada, finally, they got their almost entire roster. I was just surprised that Jamal Murray, although he was in those pictures of the first day in Team Canada training camp, there's a high chance that he will miss the competition. It turns out that he still feels tired after the NBA season. He has some issues with his knees, and I've heard that he's pretty doubtful to play in the World Cup, which would be a huge hit for Canada, because I would consider him and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as probably the best backcourt in the competition. And if you add Dylan Brooks, if you add Kelly Olynyk, who's a great big man for FIBA competition, Dwight Powell, some other players, Dort, a lot of other guys on the team, RJ Barrett, I mean, they're deep enough to win medals in FIBA basketball, and everybody can say that, oh, they don't have any chemistry, they didn't play together before. I think it's, again, this national team basketball is a tricky thing, and in a few weeks they might click very well. Yeah. They have a very nice, interesting coach, Jordi Fernandez, with European basketball background and knowledge. He's from Spain. He's having a decent career in the NBA, and I've heard that he's future NBA head coach for sure. So this whole combination is very intriguing to me, and I'm just happy that Canada might have a legit chance to compete for something. Finally,
yes, because it was one of those what-if teams for almost 10 years. And finally, we're going to see something close to their full potential. If Jamal Murray decides to play, and if you add Andrew Wiggins on top of everything, we're talking gold. Right now, you're probably going to depend on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to average 25 points per game or something like that, but still they have a lot of talent. So I agree with you that they can win a medal for sure.
The second team to watch is the smallest country to make the World Cup in the entire history, Cape Verde. Their population is less than 600,000 people. So basically it's less than we have in Vilnius here, which is also considered as a small capital in Europe. And Eddie Tavares will do his best, to bring pride to his country and to make this team respected among their opponents. When I talked to Toko, he also mentioned that when team has Eddie Tavares, I mean, you cannot underestimate them, because he has a huge impact on the court and he will make everyone better. The interesting thing is that probably we will hear a lot of stories that Cape Verde will be one of those teams that will have some issues with the preparation, because they don't have a big budget, they don't have money, they don't have enough personnel to have a normal quality preparation for the World Cup. For instance, from what I heard, again, huge credit to Eddie Tavares, I heard that they're going to spend more than 1 week in Madrid, and they will practice in Real Madrid facilities, and basically they will practice for free because of Eddie Tavares. That's a very nice thing. The problem is that they will transfer to United States, to Boston area. I don't remember a specific area, maybe it's a Providence. And I was told that there are more Cape Verdeans in that area than in the entire Cape Verde country. So they will try to get some funds, but the problem is that they have some visa issues with Eddie. So probably he's not going to travel to the United States, and he will join the national team just in Japan, but they will go directly from States to Japan. So it's going to be one of those stories where if they will even make the World Cup, if they're going to play games, if they're going to, probably they're not going to stay like 4 guys in one room, as it was with some teams like Bosnia and last Eurobasket, which also had some big financial issues and some other issues. But I hope that Cape Verde will be one of those Cinderella stories that we will be all pleased to watch, and they will be competitive in this Group F with Slovenia, Georgia, and Venezuela.
My question is Eddie Tavares shooting threes for his national team?
I think that he's doing everything for the national team, shooting threes.
I want to see him shooting threes.
There's one guy I know from that team, at least the roster I see is from...
Another Tavares guy?
No, AfroBasket 2021, their roster. And I know one guy, Ivan Almeida, who plays, I think, in Portugal. And I think he's the guy who shoots threes in that team. I remember one game, maybe Champions League qualification or something like that, where he had 8 or 9 made 3-pointers. So maybe they are the core of this team, and then who knows what else they will bring. But this story about how they will prepare is amazing. Yeah. It's not something you hear anymore often in nowadays.
Yeah, and third thing to watch for me will be the basketball culture in Asian countries. Indonesia, Japan, and Philippines, of course. We heard a lot of interesting things about the Philippines. And for us Europeans, it's very exotic, it's something very unusual. But I believe that we will be fascinated, impressed by the differences, cultural differences compared to European basketball. Because, for instance, when I remember my trip to Rio de Janeiro Olympics in 2016, I didn't know what to expect. We haven't heard Brazilian basketball fans being great fans or something. We never heard stories about them. And I was really impressed. I don't remember the capacity of the gym that they played in, but I think it was something close to 20,000. They packed the gym. The game against Lithuania was impressive. I mean, they were super loud, singing songs. Probably it's coming from football field, this whole... and Brazilians, just in general, they're very passionate about sports, about their country. So it was an amazing atmosphere. And I believe that I will experience something like that in Philippines. I will spend almost 3 weeks in Manila. But I believe that in every host country, it will be interesting. For instance, Japan, I've heard stories that in Japan League, in some arenas, they gave like rule books of basketball. They give guidance of when to applaud players, how to cheer. And Martina, our colleague from BasketNews, her husband, Brock Motton, played in Japan last year. And there were still some COVID restrictions. And according to those restrictions, it was disallowed to cheer against the opposing team. So if you're cheering, you have to support, even if it means the away team.
So you cannot boo.
Yeah, exactly. And I remember my trip to South Korea, and South Korean fans were also, superly excited about Lithuanian Valančiūnas because they follow NBA guys, and they were also cheering, roaring for Lithuanians. So I think it will be unique experience.
I think some of our more experienced colleagues could share their experiences from the 2006 World Cup because it was in Japan, and there were Lithuanian journalists that we know, and we could ask them. But it's different this time because it's in Okinawa. It's not in Tokyo or in other big cities.
Yeah. But I think that Okinawa also has they're kind of crazy about basketball by Japan standards, because there are a lot of American people over there because of U.S. Army basement or something. So there is this culture.
One thing I cannot wrap my head around for a long time. Philippines is one of the rare countries where basketball is number one sport. They're obsessed with basketball. They're crazy about basketball. How is it that they cannot really play basketball on a high level?
Because of their physical limitations. They're just too short.
But I mean, come on, that they do have some taller players. Like they never had a player in the EuroLeague. They never had a real Filipino player in the NBA.
Rytis, I think I have found an answer, and Donatas was correct. I checked Philippines average size, and average Filipino man is 163 centimeters tall.
Yeah, but
that's 5.4.
That's in general. I'm talking about the basketball team. Like, you can be undersized, but it doesn't mean you cannot really compete.
Maybe they are fans, but I'm not sure for how long they are fans of basketball. Maybe, now they are supporting, cheering for the last 10, 15 maybe years, but they still don't have the culture to
They actually have the culture.
Prepare the guys.
I'm listening to some great audiobook about the history of Filipino basketball, and they started to create this culture from 70s or 80s. They were never at a very high level as a professional league and the national team. They had half Filipino players in the NBA, not very, prominent players, but there is this culture. It's just more about these physical limitations, as crazy as it sounds. They're skilled, they all love basketball, they love to play those pickup games in streets, outside courts with flip-flops, with some crazy moves.
So I just have to bring my flip-flops then.
Yeah, probably will be involved in some clashes.
I will show my post moves.
And starting at center, Rytis.
I will be starting at center because these days, even when I play pickup basketball in Lithuania, I play, let's say, in the paint because of my physical limitations as well.
You're point forward,
because
center.
I don't have one knee. I have some unnecessary weight, so I go play with my back to the basket.
So yeah, these are my 3 things to watch in the World Cup.
What else do we have?
Some EuroLeague topics. This week was, I would say, uniquely quiet. No crazy transfers. No more NBA players coming. I think that Juancho Hernagomez was the last big addition, Kemba Walker as well. But there are some rumors. And the closest to reality, the highest probability NBAer to come to Europe is Svy Mykhailiuk, who is in negotiations with Panathinaikos. His priority is the NBA. He's waiting for the NBA offers, and he asked more time. He's keeping his options open over there. But probably, if he's coming to Europe, the team at the pole position to sign him, at least in the last few days, was Panathinaikos. What would you think about this connection? Would you see it as a last perfect piece in this whole new Panathinaikos puzzle?
Absolutely loving the fit here for Panathinaikos. I think with Papapetru no longer being a viable option for the starting lineup, if you are serious about contending for the title, he is great off the bench, but you need someone in front of him to start. Mykhailiuk would be a great pickup here. You have Lesort, you have all those guards, creating. So first of all, you need a shooter here, and check mark here. He's a great shooter. He can just spot up. He can do even more than that. But then it might come as a surprise because he doesn't play much, but he's also a great playmaking wing. And I checked the stats. He didn't play much in the NBA, but in the possessions he had, he was better than 99% of all NBA players in the pick and roll. 1.28 points per possession. So that's amazing number, better than anyone in the league. Of course, only 35 possessions, so that's not a lot. That's a very small sample size. The more pick and rolls you play, the less points per possession you get. But he could have that Kruno Simon role, I think, if we are looking for references with the old championship-winning FS teams. He was they had Micic, they had Larkin, and they have Kruno Simon, who was often not only shooting, but he was creating off the dribble. So Svy could do exactly the same. And then just imagine the starting lineup, Lukas Vildoza, Mykhailiuk, Juancho, and Matthias Lesort. That sounds amazing to me. That sounds championship material on paper, obviously. So I'm absolutely loving the fit here. I don't know about you guys.
And by the way, you mentioned this comparison thing and you mentioned Kruno Simon. I think that... Don't you think that in some ways Mykhailiuk also reminds Vasilij Micic and the skill set and things that he can bring to the court? Because I think that different from Kruno, I think that Mykhailiuk loves to play with the ball more than Simon. I don't think that it was so necessary for Simon to have the ball in his hands so much like Mykhailiuk. Because Mykhailiuk, I think in Europe, he's a perfect playmaker. And I believe that he will want to have higher usage when maybe Kruno Simon did in FS.
I think so. I think you are right. I mean, I imagine him. We saw what he can do in the international tournaments with his country. He can be the number one option, and
he's not a real point guard, but he basically plays like a point guard.
Yeah. So it's not like I talked about the shooting first, but I think he's going to be much more than that, and one of the most important, if not the most important player in that roster if he signs with them.
I'll have more when he signs.
Okay.
Because if he doesn't, then these opinions wouldn't matter. If his priority is the NBA, there's still probably a chance that he will sign for some NBA team. But he played in a limited role when he was with various NBA teams, so it's kind of hard to judge him on that. But you could just see his skill set, and in my eyes, he would be a perfect EuroLeague player. I mean, when I'm saying perfect, obviously I'm exaggerating. Nobody's perfect, but in terms of European players coming back from the NBA to the EuroLeague, or not coming back, or just actually for the first time playing in the EuroLeague, he would be one of the best examples. Like Elie Okobo, for example. First season with Asvel, he was a force on offense. So I could imagine Mykhailiuk being that as well. It would be up to the coach to actually just decide on the roles, who has the ball more often, because they do have these guards, as August already said. When you have Slukas and Vildosa, maybe you don't need Mykhailiuk as your Vasilija Micic type of player. So, yeah, but I think they cannot go wrong with signing a player like Mykhailiuk.
Another guy who was linked with EuroLeague teams was Kendrick Nunn. There were some reports on Twitter that he had a done deal in place with Olympiacos. Kendrick Nunn denied it. But what do you think in general about the fit? Because from what I heard for sure, that he was offered to EuroLeague teams. And the same goes with John Wall, although he said that him being in talks with Milan is fake news. There's this part of the story where agencies are exploring all options for the players, and they're, giving kind of requests if you would be interested, if yes, in what terms and what conditions. And it's very likely that some of these players, they're not aware of what's going on, especially players like John Wall or Kendrick Nunn without a guaranteed place in the NBA. So their agencies are just working for exploring the options and offering their services to the EuroLeague teams. But,
John Wall is a different story, but Kendrick Nunn, if Olympiacos, let's say, if they would sign Kendrick Nunn, first of all, they're replacing a left-handed point guard with another left-handed point guard, which makes sense. But I don't know where it went wrong for Kendrick Nunn. Like, the guy had an amazing rookie season with the Miami Heat. He was the reason why Goran Dragic was not playing as many minutes in the regular season coming off the bench. It seemed like the Miami Heat have a player for 10 years in the future who will be one of their starting guards. And then all of a sudden in the Orlando bubble during that COVID season, he just lost his role in the rotation. And Mike Spoelstra didn't trust him anymore. Afterwards, he signed with the LA Lakers, and it looked like it could be a good signing for the Lakers, but he didn't really have any impact on the Lakers. Then he spent some time with the Washington Wizards, and then we all forgot about Kendrick Nunn. And he's 28, and it doesn't seem that he had some big injuries or something like that. So
But he missed the season due to injury.
okay.
You mean 21, 22?
Yeah.
Okay, but
He did not play.
But even before that, he had a decline after his great, let's say, first part of the regular season with the Miami Heat.
I can't say. I'm just looking at the stats, pure stats right now. First season, 15 points per game, 15.3. Second season, 14.6. And then he misses the whole 21-22 season because of the bone bruise injury that didn't allow him to play at all for that year. And then he signs with Lakers, and he is having a 7-point season this season.
So you mean he missed 21-22
21-22.
Okay. But like I said, I mean, his decline began in the Orlando bubble, where he was out of the rotation. But okay, maybe then you can say he was not as experienced as Goran Dragic. Coach had other preferences, and et cetera, et cetera. So we are not really sure in what shape he is right now and what he can offer. If you're talking about, let's say, 2 year, €6 million deal, that's kind of a risky deal for Olympiacos.
Hmm.
It sounds to me that way.
I
I'm not sure if these are right numbers. So,
But if they are, I saw some rumors.
yeah, but
If they are,
These
that
rumors
sounds like really
also tells
risky
that he
because
has signed, but
because
it's
you're
not
gambling on a player. You're not signing someone who had a great season last year in some other EuroLeague team, and you're just replacing Slukas. You're gambling. So
Lucas is supposed to be getting 3 million per year. So if those numbers would be true, then they could have offered Lucas that amount of money. Just
We're bringing that up again.
Just kidding, guys. Just kidding.
What are your thoughts about Nuns, or especially what do you think about John Wall?
what do I think about John
In Europe,
Wall?
mixed feelings.
I'm not in favor of signing NBA veterans who are not relevant in the NBA anymore because of reasons, usually injuries. I'm not really super excited about Kemba Walker coming to Monaco. I wouldn't be so excited about John Wall coming to Milan. I don't really have an example where it really worked out. And people were saying, wow, they did sign a 34-year-old NBA veteran and now he's a EuroLeague star.
MVP.
Do you have examples as such?
That's a good point.
We
brought
can
up.
That's a good question.
We can go through all the Kenny Andersons, Lamar Odoms, and other players. And
Robert Pack. I mean, and Žalgiris.
okay, Robert Pack was
Pack
decent.
was good. That was good.
He was decent.
No, but I get you, Rytis. Like, I have mixed feelings because are you signing him because you want to replace Pangos and he's like the best remaining available option on the market? Or do you sign him because you really like him? Like,
Are you signing him because of his name?
Yeah, exactly, of his career. So it's, for me, it's obvious they want to switch Pangos badly with someone. You know, there are many rumors, and but I don't know. Like, Milano's play offense is highly dependent on guards. Messina does give you high usage, but would Messina have the patience where John Wall just maybe does something he wasn't asked for, you know, because, you know, he played his whole career as the main ball handler and he could just go with his speed and do whatever in the NBA, and it was okay, because if he's not in shape, that won't be available in the EuroLeague. Who knows if he's in shape? He hasn't played.
He had injuries. He had
as well.
Those situations in Houston last season. We saw glimpses of him in the LA Clippers, but I don't know, man.
And imagine you have Milano right now have like 18 players in the front court, like not 18, but you know, if they sign Mirotic, imagine Mirotic asking for the ball in a great position under the basket, and John Wall just, you know, doing something maybe not what Messina has asked him to do. And how does this connection work? How does this relationship would work? So
I mean, prime John Wall was a scary player, but the reality is we're never going to see prime John Wall anymore. So what? So in 2 years' time, maybe somebody from the EuroLeague goes for Derrick Rose because of nostalgia. I don't really like this strategy. I don't see what value it brings to the team. It's not like you're all of a sudden making some commercial revenue by signing John Wall. It doesn't work that way in European basketball landscape. I'm thinking about all these guys. What, Tony Delk for
Maybe
Panathinaikos?
Dominic Wilkins was the last one.
Tony Delk was not
McAdoo,
relevant in the NBA. So I don't know.
Yeah, probably.
Maybe I will be proven wrong. Let's say Kemba Walker has a amazing season, averaging 18 points per game, playing just one game per week.
But it's different. I mean, I don't think that they have very high expectations for Kemba to be the main guy. I mean, he's joining the team with Mike James, Lloyd, and Akobo. So I think that they might be happy just getting, you know, something around 10 points per game from him.
Well, they might be happy, but I mean, the fans probably see, wow, Kemba Walker's coming to town. Wow, that's an NBA All-Star.
And if it doesn't work out, they still have.
If it translates into buying tickets, buying merchandise, that's great.
So Monaco signing Kemba Walker is not a risky move. It's a 1 year deal, and maybe there are some clauses in the contract that
the contract is very flexible.
So for them, they're not risking. But if, let's say, Olympiacos replaces Lucas with Kendrick Nunn and they sign him as their primary point guard, that's risky because you don't know what you're gonna get.
I see your point. Yeah.
And if Milano signs John Wall to run the show, and he's coming not in shape, let's say, or maybe his injuries have the best of him, then what do you do?
On top of the ranking of the high risk moves, right?
I just have this really small window where I could see things working out because these players with bad injury history like Kemba Walker or John Wall, in the NBA regular season, you play back-to-back games, you travel all the time, 82-game regular season, blah, 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 all that stuff. You sign for a European team, you play, let's say, one game a week. You don't play on Saturday in your national league. Maybe you could deal with that sort of load and you could have a good season and produce good numbers and win games. But it's a huge maybe.
That's probably what Kemba will do. And, even if Kemba thing doesn't work out, they still have James, Okobo, and Lloyd there. So that's why I see it. That's why I love the move for Monaco, but not a big fan of... I wouldn't be a big fan of this move for Milano.
Yeah.
Allen Iverson for Besiktas. His debut game, Hemo Farm, Vršac.
I was surprised by Allen Iverson stats in Besiktas because I remember I tried to find some comparisons to the star level players that I could compare to Kemba Walker's signing. And of course, we remember that Deron Williams actually had a nice stint with Besiktas. But Allen Iverson in 3 Euro Cup games, he was averaging 9 points on 60% of 3-point shooting, but it was like 3 from 5, 50% free throws, 32% 2-point shooting, 1.7 turnovers, and 3 assists per game.
I saw these games because they were on Eurosport at the time, and that debut game versus Hemo Farm, as I said, everyone was so excited to see Allen Iverson, and he was scoring
15 points.
Yeah, he was scoring. He made some shots, but he didn't play any defense. The team suffered very much, and in the end, they actually lost the game. And then I saw other games. I think they played one in France
as well.
Yeah,
both games against as well, 4 and 9 points.
So he made some shots, but then you could see he really doesn't have the fire. He doesn't really seem very motivated to be here, and it ended pretty quickly. Deron Williams is a different example. He signed during the lockout. He was still more or less in his prime.
Yeah.
So you weren't surprised to see him scoring, like dropping 40 in a FIBA challenge, whatever cup that was.
It was actually FIBA Euro challenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
As crazy as it sounds.
And Ergin Ataman was the coach.
Yep.
He was coaching Deron Williams.
Yeah. And his jersey got retired, I think.
I don't know about that.
In Besiktas.
But if you could like prime Deron Williams in EuroLeague, for sure, he would be a beast. But we're talking about these players in their prime. If it's not a lockout year, you don't get them in their prime. You get them because they don't have NBA offers anymore.
They don't have where to play.
Yeah, I think it's time to wrap up the episode. Great to have you here, all in studio, guys. During the summer is not so easy, but I think that approaching the World Cup, we will have those chances more and more often. Of course, Rytis will have his in and out situations in the upcoming weeks, but
mainly out situations. There are not too many ins.
But at least Rytis is going to the World Cup, and probably we will do Zoom podcasting during the competition. So we'll try to cover as much as possible of the World Cup, although we will be in Manila with Rytis, but with the help of Augustas, we'll try to cover all the groups, all teams, and all the most exciting things to watch. Thanks for watching. Join our BN Plus community on basketnews.com/plus because we will have Q&A episode next week with Augustas. See you soon.